Baba Kwame stormed into his home. His face dark with anger, Zalika sat inside, unaware of his return, sipping from a wooden cup with a satisfied smile. She had believed she had won, but the moment she saw Baba Kwame's furious eyes, her smile vanished. "You wicked woman!" Baba Kwame roared. "What have you done to my daughter?" Zalika's hands shook, but she quickly composed herself. She forced a look of sorrow onto her face and fell to her knees. "My husband, I only did what was necessary," she said, her voice trembling with false innocence. "Tisila brought misfortune upon our home. She was cursed, and I had no choice but to act for the safety of our family." But Baba Kwame was not fooled. "Lies!" he thundered. "The whole village has told me the truth. You threw an innocent girl to the lions." Zalika's face paled, but she clung to her lies. "The spirits showed me signs," she insisted. "Even the elders saw the misfortunes that befell our family. I did only what was right." Before Baba Kwame could reply, voices rose outside. The villagers had gathered, and at the front stood the elders. Among them was Grandmother Abeni, with Tisila standing by her side. Zalika's eyes widened in shock. She had not seen Tisila since that fateful day at the lion's den, and yet there she was, alive, stronger than ever, surrounded by people who now saw her as a chosen one. "You speak of curses, but it is clear now who the true curse was," Grandmother Abeni said firmly. "Tisila was spared by the spirits, yet you, Zalika, acted out of jealousy and greed. You tried to destroy an innocent girl." The crowd murmured in agreement. The same villagers who had once feared Zalika now looked at her with disgust. Baba Kwame turned to the elders. "I demand justice," he said. "This woman betrayed me, betrayed my daughter, and betrayed this village." The elders did not hesitate. "Zalika, you are guilty of attempted murder and betrayal of your own family," one of them declared. "You have no place among us anymore." Zalika's legs gave way, and she fell to the ground. "No, please. I was only doing what I thought was right," she wailed. But no one listened. Her power, her influence, everything she had built through lies and cruelty was gone, and now she would have to face her punishment. The village elders gathered in the great meeting circle, their faces stern as they prepared to deliver Zalika's punishment. The villagers stood all around, whispering among themselves, eager to see justice served. Baba Kwame sat among the elders, his jaw tight with anger, while Tisila stood beside Grandmother Abeni, watching in silence. "Zalika," one of the elders spoke, his voice deep and commanding. "You have been found guilty of betraying your family, attempting to kill an innocent girl, and deceiving the village with lies. You cast Tisila into the lion's den, hoping she would not survive, but the spirits protected her, showing us that she was not the cursed one." Another elder stepped forward. "And now you shall face the same fate you planned for her." Zalika's body shook as she fell to her knees. "No, please have mercy," she cried. "I was only doing what I thought was best." But no one was moved by her pleas. The very people who once feared her now looked at her with disgust. The guards grabbed her arms and dragged her toward the sacred forest, where the lion's den lay hidden beneath the trees. As they reached the edge of the pit, Zalika thrashed wildly. "You cannot do this to me! I am the wife of Baba Kwame. I am the mother of Ayanda!" she screamed. But her words meant nothing now. Baba Kwame turned away, unable to look at the woman who had nearly destroyed his daughter's life. The guards untied her hands and pushed her forward. She stumbled, her feet barely gripping the edge of the pit. Below, the lions stirred, sensing movement. Their golden eyes glowed in the dim light, and low growls rumbled from their throats. Zalika turned to the elders one last time, her face streaked with tears. "Please, I beg you," but there was no mercy left for her. With one final push, she tumbled into the pit. The moment her body hit the ground, the lions rose to their feet. Unlike with Tisila, they did not hesitate, they did not circle or sniff. They lunged. A scream echoed through the forest, sharp and filled with terror. The villagers turned their heads, unable to watch. Within moments, the screaming stopped, and silence fell over the land. The lions returned to the shadows, their work done. The elders nodded, satisfied that justice had been served. Baba Kwame exhaled deeply, his heart heavy, but he knew this was the fate Zalika had brought upon herself. Tisila closed her eyes and whispered a quiet prayer, not for Zalika. With Zalika gone, peace returned to Ndarama. The air felt lighter, as if a great shadow had been lifted from the village. Tisila stood beside her father, Baba Kwame, who looked at her with deep regret in his eyes. He reached out, taking her hands in his own, his voice heavy with sorrow. "My daughter," he said softly, "I failed you. I should have seen the truth. I should have protected you." Tisila looked at him, her heart aching for the years they had lost, but she knew that holding on to anger would only bring more pain. She squeezed his hands gently and gave him a small smile. "The past is gone, Baba," she said. "What matters is that we are here now." Baba Kwame pulled her into a tight embrace, his tears wetting her shoulder. He vowed to never let anything harm her again. With time, Tisila's name became known far beyond the village. She used the wisdom she had learned from Grandmother Abeni to heal the sick, settle disputes, and teach young girls the importance of strength and kindness. People from other villages came seeking her advice, and soon the elders began to rely on her guidance. One day, Ayanda came to see her. Without her mother's cruel influence, she was no longer the spoiled, arrogant girl she had once been. She stood before Tisila, her eyes filled with shame. "I was wrong," Ayanda whispered. "I let my mother's lies blind me, and I treated you badly. I don't expect your forgiveness, but I want you to know that I am sorry." Tisila studied Ayanda for a long moment. She saw the sincerity in her words, the guilt in her eyes. She nodded slowly. "We cannot change the past," she said, "but we can choose to be better in the future." Ayanda bowed her head in gratitude, promising to make amends. She began working alongside Tisila, helping the villagers and learning from her wisdom. Though they could never erase what had happened, they built a new bond, one rooted in truth and respect. And so, Tisila's story became legend. Her name was spoken with honor, a symbol of resilience, kindness, and justice. The girl who had once been cast into the lion's den had risen, stronger than ever, shaping the future of Ndarama for generations to come. As the years passed, Tisila's story spread far beyond the borders of Ndarama. Travelers carried her tale to distant lands, speaking of the girl who had been thrown into the lion's den, but walked out untouched. People whispered her name in marketplaces, in royal courts, and by the firesides of humble homes. They spoke of her kindness, her wisdom, and the justice that had been served upon her wicked stepmother. Elders told her story to children as a lesson in courage and faith. Parents reminded their sons and daughters that goodness always finds a way to triumph, no matter how much darkness tries to overshadow it. Even the village elders, who once doubted her, looked to her as a guide in times of uncertainty. Tisila's wisdom shaped Ndarama for generations. She trained young women to be leaders, healers, and voices of reason in their communities. Under her guidance, the village thrived, becoming known for its fairness and strength. Her father, Baba Kwame, lived to see her greatness, his heart filled with pride for the daughter he had almost lost. Though time moved forward and seasons changed, one thing remained the same. Tisila's name was never forgotten. The girl who had faced the lions and survived became more than just a legend. She became a symbol of justice, destiny, and the unshakable power of the ancestors.